Mr President, I begin this afternoon with a quote. The New South Wales Government is committed to secure, affordable and renewable energy future for New South Wales. Fine words, but those words will never become reality. New South Wales will not become a California by market forces alone. Either there needs to be public investment directly in renewable energy, or mechanisms need to be established that nurture and support the renewable energy industry and make it an attractive investment environment, taking into account the longer payback periods and hence the greater need for certainty in both market and in price available for renewable energy products. This is not surprising. The history of coal-fired power stations is quite similar. When large centralised power stations fired by gas or coal were seeking to grab an economic foothold, they struggled until they were given access to capital borrowings guaranteed by the state government, with payback periods of up to 30 years. That degree of certainty was in effect a huge subsidy that established coal-fired and central gas-fired power stations in New South Wales. They've been sustained by an ongoing subsidy in terms of the diesel fuel rebate, low-cost fuels and also free use of the environment as a dump. Despite technical innovation and rapidly declining costs of wind and solar and energy efficiency, capital barriers still exist to the renewable energy future. And those barriers are maintained by the politics of the old parties and driven by the fossil fuel industry. Not making major inroads into the renewable energy industry will have major impacts for New South Wales. Not only will we lose the opportunity to cut greenhouse gas emissions, but jobs will be lost in large numbers. The wind industry in its current form offers the opportunity to cut 16.8 million tonnes of carbon dioxide. That's about a quarter of the emissions from the state's electricity industry, and generate 3,940 new jobs directly in this state. But more importantly, investment now in renewable energy builds the economy of the future with huge export potentials. But that will only happen if New South Wales gets ahead of the curve and stops languishing behind it. John Howard's original mandatory renewable energy target set a ridiculous target of just 2%. In 2009, the Rudd government increased that to 20% by 2020. Crucially, not as a percentage of energy consumed, but as an absolute gigawatt-hour figure, 41,000 gigawatt-hours by 2020, in order to provide certainty to the industry to attract capital in, recognising the industry could not absorb the risk on declining demand for electricity. Critically, that target received bipartisan support, resulting in massive growth in jobs and in greenhouse gas emission cuts. Shortly afterwards, the market for small renewable energy systems, such as rooftop solar, was separated out to increase the certainty. Enter the Abbott government, after they were elected, under pressure from the coal and gas industry and climate deniers in their own ranks, led ably by Ellen Jones, Miranda Devine and Andrew Bolt. The Abbott government established a review by the champion climate denier Dick Warburton of itself enough to destabilise the industry, sending a clear signal of the Liberal and National Party government's intention to destroy the industry. What came out of that review was even more frightening. Close the scheme down entirely or cut it to a 20% target. We went from 41,000 gigawatt hours to 20%, which is a 7% cut, down to the suggestions of 27,000 gigawatt hours a year, a 40% cut, with Ian Macfarlane seeking Labor support. That would cost New South Wales more than 1,600 jobs. The Coalition, the Labor and the Greens in New South Wales agree this is not a good outcome, and it can be solved by a state-based renewable energy target legislation. As happened in 2007, resuscitating that legislation and putting it through this parliament will provide an investment environment for renewable energy in this state. This is not just a matter of rescuing the planet. It's not just a matter of jobs right now. It is a question of what sort of an economic future this state wants to have. Just as support was given to coal-fired power stations in the 1950s to build a new economy, it is time for New South Wales to put the same support into renewable energy by guaranteeing a market, filling the gaps that might be left open by whatever the federal government and federal politicians might do to the renewable energy industry.